Hey everybody, welcome to Tuesday. I wanted to do game content today. I mean, the community stuff is good. It's important to talk about this sort of stuff, like the cultural stuff, but I like talking about game stuff. And the problem is, it's summer. There's a dearth of gaming content. There's a dearth of new stuff. And as great a word as dearth is, it leaves me sort of grasping at straws. And then, like a lightning bolt from heaven, I had sort of a clash of culture stuff that I'm into. In the, the BET Awards were a couple of nights ago, and they were fire, man. Like, they gave Queen Latifah a Lifetime Achievement Award, and they did all this tribute, and it reminded you how good a rapper she was back in the 90s, and she made a super empowering speech, and it was all really positive. And then they did a DMX tribute with like Method Man and Busta Rhymes and Swizz Beatz and like all this stuff, and like it was like party anthems, and people were like crying. It was happy, it was bittersweet, it was poignant. It was an industry celebrating even though things are far from perfect, right? And then I went to do gaming news. Seems the biggest thing that's been going on right now is this stupid PlayStation Xbox fan ongoing console war horseshit. Well, Nintendo's just in their own corner going, eats popcorn, right? Like, Nintendo's just, you two just kaiju fight all you want. We're making like a little Matchbox with a wind-up toy in it console, and it's still selling like crazy. You have at it, Xbox and PlayStation. But it made me realize how much I hate the console wars. I hate the console wars. Like, I hate The Sims. And you know how much I hate The Sims. In fact, I think I actually hate the console wars significantly more than I hate The Sims. Okay? And I'm going to talk about why. If you like this sort of stuff, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. The too long didn't read or too long didn't watch reason why Leanna hates the console wars is because Leanna loves video games. And Leanna does not care if it's a Microsoft published video game, or a PlayStation published video game, or a Nintendo published video game, or like one of the other third-party games. A good game is a good game. I want everyone to do well. And the thing that is so stupid about the ongoing console wars is everyone is doing really, really well right now, and yet bullshit is still ensuing. Okay, this was the tweet that just made me crash down to earth after binge watching Queen Latifah videos, and then I went on like this like labyrinth down through all kinds of really great music and really like uplifting, affirming stuff, and then I see this. It's a tweet from Xbox Game Pass verified account. The internet thinks we paid people to talk about Xbox Game Pass this weekend, and that's just absurd. Almost as absurd as a service that offers access to over 100 high-quality games, all the benefits of Xbox Live Gold, and an EA Play membership for one low monthly price. And then there's another tweet. And access to all those PC games, plus cloud gaming on PC and Apple Android mobile devices. The absurdity! Like, okay, points for cheeky social media, fine. But I did see Xbox Game Pass trending over the weekend. I deliberately did not click on that hashtag because I knew it was just going to be pooped. Because every time you see Game Pass trending lately, it's poop. And I normally have trouble not touching the poop on Twitter. I see something, it's like, oh, this is going to make me angry. I click it anyway. But I resisted that poop because it is smelly diarrhea poop, okay? I do not understand this Xbox PlayStation fan war. Last generation, I owned an Xbox One. I owned a PlayStation 4. I personally ended up playing the PlayStation 4 more, and there's like a super simple reason for it. The PlayStation controller, here they are. The PlayStation controller is this big. The Xbox controllers, this is my old ass wired 360 controller, but the Xbox controllers are this big. I have small puny hands, okay? So this is significantly more comfortable and less fatiguing than this. That's really the only reason. Plus, I like PlayStation exclusives. But, people are so, Games Pass is best, PlayStation sucks, and PlayStation games are best, Xbox, we won the console war. And the reason it drives me crazy, the reason I say I hate this console war because I love games, is based on the best sales figures that, analysts can figure. All three major console companies are doing really, really well. Like, historically well. The PlayStation 5, despite the shortages, is outselling the PlayStation 4 by a little bit. I think the PlayStation 4 was like 7.6 million copies. The PlayStation 5 is 7.8. Why am I trying to remember this? Well, I have the article right here that I found this in. PS4 sold about 7.6 million. PS5, 7.8 million. Oh, I was spot on. Sold as of the end of March 2021. So that's a little bit, it sold more at this point. That's really good. When the PS4 sold like crazy and the PS5 is selling more than that, that's really good. Interestingly, the Nintendo Switch over around the same period sold 7.6 million units. Oh, sorry. Was it the Switch? I want to make sure that's right. Okay, the Switch, 7.6 million units were sold during the console's first 5 months as well. So the Switch is as successful and just going as the PlayStation 4, which is good. Now, Microsoft, at first, the Xbox Series X, is lagging behind in raw sales to the tune of about 2 million units. Xbox does not release sales data the same way, but analytical companies, Ampere Analysis is the one they quote here. They suggest that Xbox Series X/S is trailing by about 2 million units, which means they've sold about 5.8 million Xbox Series XS. Why don't they just, release a Series E so we can make the sex jokes like the SEX? Like, these naming conventions on the Xbox are terrible. Okay, but that doesn't matter. 5.8 million consoles is still pretty good. But the big number for Xbox, okay, is that their gaming revenue, and quite frankly, this is the important number, how much money you make if you're a business. Their gaming revenue is up 50% year over year. And it's because of things like Games Pass, the partnerships with the EA and stuff like that. I admit that's not a bad value add because I refuse to use EA stores or anything like that. I was forced to use it for Dragon Age on PC, and I kept forgetting where the game was. I'm like, fuck this. If it was integrated into an Xbox service, that's an extra bit of value that I admit makes Game Pass a bit more worth my while. I'm not there yet, but it's getting close. But the point is that Xbox is doing much better than during the Xbox One era. That's good, okay? That's good. Competition is good. It's good for game developers. It's good for gamers. It's good for everybody. We don't want any console to fail. I will remind people because every month is an eternity in this industry, it seems. So, 4 years ago, it might have even been sooner. Lots of people, including game developers, were saying consoles are dead. This is it. It's going to be all streaming service. Nobody is going to want to buy a console. Everybody's going to play on their phone or directly stream on the TV. It was all ridiculous. I said so at the time. The pipes, people's internet service is just not there. It would create a culture of have and have nots based on where you live and what kind of service is out there. It was a dumb idea. People like their hard copy games, right? People, there's a reason people are shelling out for the optical disc version of the PS5. They're paying more for that. But be this as it may, everybody being wrong, it happens all the time in games. High profile people who make predictions about the end of something, it's horseshit. Fucking pixel art's coming back and nobody could be happier than me. I mean, pixel art is back. One of the things E3 showed was the amount of really cool pixel art games that are coming out, and that makes me happy. Pixel art is definitely its own art form. It's fascinating to see the differences that pixel art is doing now that, we're not on cathode ray tube TVs. I actually have to say cathode ray tube now, because back in the day we just called them CRT monitors. Now CRT means critical race theory, so I have to use my words. But all this is very, very good. PlayStation's revenues are up, even though they lose money on every PS5 they sell. Xbox's revenues are up. Nintendo's doing amazing. This is great. So why the fuck is everybody fighting over Xbox, PlayStation, making up stupid rumors about why would Xbox have to pay people to talk about Game Pass? All they'd have to do is do some sort of contest or something. Xbox fans are rabid. That shit would just trend on its own. The number of influencers you would have to pay to get something to trend. I hate these fucking conspiracy theories. I hate them. They're stupid. If you stop and think about them for even 5 seconds, they make no sense. Hello, Zelda? Zelda agrees. Okay, so, why? Because people love to fight. Because we are so wired collectively negatively in gaming that people don't seem to be able to cope if they're not going to battle over something. It is sad and embarrassing. Zelda, come say hi. Come say hi, Zelda. You're making all this noise. Come say hi. See, this is my cat, Zelda. I am such a gamer that I named my cat Zelda. And I have a cat, Midna. And I have a cat, Link. And that's because I love video games. Right, Silly Belly? Yeah, and of the 3, Zelda is the smartest. Don't tell the others. Yeah, so, that's the thing. I have cats named after Nintendo characters. I, have other things that, obviously, I love PlayStation. Obviously, I got a friggin', Arbiter next to a Kratos in my background. Holy shit. I am, it's console pansexuality here. I don't give a fuck. And I don't understand people who do. It's a weird identity thing. And I understand that some people, they can't afford I can barely afford this shit anymore. Part of the reason I don't have an Xbox, I might have a PS5. I have to hook it up, make sure it works, but somebody help me out with that. Oh my God, I have to hook it up. But, I don't have an Xbox Series X yet because, it's either buy an Xbox Series X or get a new video card and I'll get more use out of the video card. And I'm sorry, I just can't afford both, right? Not that I can get a new video card right now. That's another fucking story. But, just because I don't have an Xbox right now doesn't mean I'm going to do, PlayStation is better than Xbox. I think Game Pass is a really great service for a certain type of player that just doesn't happen to be me right now. I am actually I finally broke down and got PSN because it allowed me to sample games and do stuff like that. Not the games in the PlayStation ecosystem are just more my speed. Does that mean I think Xbox is bad? No. Xbox just caters to a different audience. I am not, as a rule, the biggest fan of Bethesda games. I'm an old school Interplay Fallout fan. The only game that comes close since Bethesda took over the franchise is Fallout New Vegas, and Bethesda didn't produce that one. They just published it, right? They didn't develop it. I like the first Dishonored. I didn't like the second. They're not my thing. You know, I don't do shooters the way I used to because they don't tend to be big single player campaigns, right? My tastes in gaming are moving more and more into more Japanese type stuff. Therefore, PlayStation 5 was the right console for me. But if I could afford it, I'd get an Xbox too. Why? Because one doesn't have to do badly for the other one to do well. There's plenty of money to be made in this industry. And what I don't understand is, I mean, maybe it's the American influence. I don't know. One of the things being up in Canada that are always weird and kind of jarring, and you notice I said weird and jarring, not bad, because, cultures serve purposes for people in those cultures. But I just find that American culture is all about, we're going to beat you. We're going to do your school, your town, your state, your country better than everyone else, and then that's whatever, your brand of shoes or the console you play or which first-person shooter franchise you like, all that stuff. It's all this weird competition that the rest of the world is kind of like, why? And like I said, that's not an insult. It's just, you ask anybody who's not an American, and we see that stuff, and it's very loud. And why are you shouting? And why does everything have to be, I'm going to beat your face? It's just weird. Up here in Canada, we're just like, okay, everybody have a good game. And then like when we win, like when the Raptors won the NBA championship, it was like partying in the streets. It was crazy. But beforehand, it's not, we're going to beat your face. Like it was just, all right, let's hope they do well. Now, okay, in Toronto, we're used to our teams losing. The Blue Jays had like this one shining moment where, we won in baseball. We won the World Series, but that was so expensive it practically bankrupted the team. And then, of course, the Maple Leafs are the Maple Leafs. It's sort of this weird conditioning exercise to be a hockey fan in Toronto. But you never support the Senators because they're Ottawa. This is a joke, right? Like even that is like, oh, you're a Sens fan. Nah, just kidding. Like that's Canada, right? And I'm starting to believe more and more that Canadians aren't necessarily like super nice as we get the reputation for. It's just compared to the US, we're less loud. And more like, yes, we're a fairly small country. We can't swing our proverbial dick around that way. We're just realists. But maybe that's feeding the console war to an extent. Maybe it's the fact that Xbox is an American company and that fuels some of the attitudes towards it because my personal experiences, as games media, because it's not just the fans, right? It's the PR companies for Xbox and PlayStation 2. I was at a couple of dinners back in the days when they did this kind of stuff. PlayStation would host Canadian media down in the US for a night during E3 because they knew it was super fucking expensive. for us to go down there. And it's like, hey, thanks for coming to do Canadian specific coverage. And Xbox would do shit like send over champagne to show up the PlayStation guys. And I remember one year the PlayStation guys were pissed, and it's like, why? They just did a value add on your party. Like, we're here for you guys. They didn't invite us out. They invited us to an event with everybody else. And yeah, cool. I got to talk to the Gears of War devs at their party. But, you know, you guys did something specifically for Canada. Let them pay for the champagne, right? But you could hear the Xbox guys like backslapping and yucking it up. And was I terribly impressed? No, I mean that that marketing firm lost the contract eventually. Maybe that had something to do with it. But yeah, it was not a good look as far as I'm concerned. That petty frat boy competitive instinct, that's not going to impress me as a member of the press. My job is to go there and be objective about the product. And I'm not going to be impressed by those sorts of juvenile antics, but I can't really hold it against the game devs and their teams either. So all it ends up doing is sort of being status neutral, and I end up just vaguely annoyed because I have to burn energy tamping down my annoyance, if that makes any sense. And maybe that's part of the reason I'm so irritated by the console wars. And if anybody wonders, Nintendo was just chill. Like, Nintendo had such a different view of what marketing was. There's no flash. I mean, okay, when Shu was down on the floor of the PlayStation press conference one year, I admit I kind of freaked. That was cool. But, you know, Miyamoto-san is like cruising around the Nintendo booth. He's there. He sees you, like everything. You can't get anywhere near him because there's like a phalanx of security. But Nintendo's very chill. And they tend to only have a few games. One year it was just one game. It was just Breath of the Wild. And they did all these cool, like it was like Disneyland. They had like the life-size models of some of the creatures and stuff like that. It was cool. It was an experience. But because it was only one game, it was sort of humble. And Nintendo they don't do the whining and dining, not the same way. They do, you know, the events they do in Toronto were all just come play the games, right? Very, very different. Very refreshing. Now, the people that came to Nintendo events tended to be more diverse and less hardcore. And I think that had something to do with the different marketing approach. I always had to sort of... It was weird. Every time I did a Nintendo event, that like going cyan thing that I had to do with Xbox and PlayStation events. Okay, you got to psych yourself up. You got to bring your aggro because people are going to bust your balls from the minute you walk into that building until the minute you leave for various reasons. It's going to be Crisis on Infinite fucking nerd checks and a lot of expectations of softball questions by developers. And then once the first core gaming, you see them like sit up more at the first question that's actually deep, and then the whole interview changes. But with Nintendo, it was like, because they weren't part of that bullshit dick swinging console war nonsense. I don't care if I walk away with a shirt with my gamer tag on it. In fact, I don't want a shirt with my gamer tag on it. I don't want anybody knowing my gamer tag unless I give it to them. Silly me. You know, I said to the Xbox guys that did that, I said, you guys really didn't consider that women might not want their gamer tag on their shirt? And they said, good point. I said, can I get a shirt that doesn't have my gamer tag on it? And they were like, yeah, sure. Because it was a Gears of War 3 shirt, man. I was going to fucking take that. But, you know, Nintendo was there. They had a mascot dressed as Mario. And they had, like, cupcakes, like the mushrooms. And did that influence me at all? But it was, no, but it was like cool. It was like, oh, this is cute. This is quaint. This is kawaii. This is Nintendo, right? And it was just so chill that it was just people playing games instead of this very aggressive, combative press experience or even like direct to fan marketing experience. You know what? It's better. There's a reason that Nintendo managed to recover from the stumble that was the Wii U. Even though, that was another one. Oh, Nintendo's dead. They're not coming back from this one. And I said at the time, never count Nintendo out. Never, ever, ever, ever. Never. And sure enough, the Switch, boom. Right? But that's because Nintendo's whole deal isn't competitive. Nintendo runs its own race and is like, we hope you like our game. We hope you like our console. We hope you like our characters. Thank you. They're chill. They're humble. And it makes you want to root for them because they just seem like people doing a job. It's weird when you forget for a while that, some of the guys walking around, they're these happy little Asian guys. Like, no, they're some of the most brilliant minds in gaming today. But they're just so chill that you forget. And I think that's good because Nintendo just keeps kicking ass, not just on, raw sales, but also on the sort of goodwill for their IPs, right? Which is awesome. And I also think with Nintendo, I like that they're going into the more diverse roster, like games catalog kind of thing, but I like the fact that they can still do good all ages family friendly titles. I think that's a really good skill, and it's harder than people give them credit for, to make something exciting and fun that isn't all blood and guts and shock. And you guys know I love my blood and guts, right? But that goodwill that Nintendo builds up just by being cool, adds another log on the fire for this console war being stupid. If Xbox does well, great. If Sony does well, awesome. There's no gold, silver, and bronze medal in video games. That's part of the reason I don't like game awards. Like, how do you compare The Last of Us 2 to Doom Eternal to fucking Hades? At least at the Oscars, all the movies are movies, but those games don't function the same way. Like, Doom Eternal, Hades, they're not the same thing. That's like saying, grade this orange and grade this apple and say which one is better. It's literally apples and oranges, right? And that's the thing. As long as all these companies are making money, as long as all these companies are profitable and employing people and creating great experiences, right? And inspiring, the potential game devs of tomorrow, but also people of all ages who games just allow them to take them away from their troubles and get them through shitty times, right? Games make our lives better. So why the fuck are we fighting over these things? It's so stupid and it's so juvenile and I don't get it. And maybe you guys have some insight I don't. Maybe you completely agree with me and are just laughing along. But, I care more about whether game devs at various companies are treated well, paid properly, and have appropriate job security, right? I don't care about 2 million consoles one way or another when everybody's making money. Make sense? Good. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.